Hello, my pretties! Welcome back to the YouWapathaz channel! Today, we will be creating this wonderful full moon drawing in Procreate. Let's dive into it. Go ahead and open up the Procreate app. We're gonna go ahead and click the plus sign here and click square. We are going to start off by creating our background. Go ahead and click this layer tool here and make sure that layer 1 is selected. Now let's go and choose our color palette. We want a nice blue for the background. So I'm gonna look in here and pick a nice dark blue. To fill the background, go ahead and drag the color onto the background. Now we are gonna have some fun with the shading. Click the layers button and press the plus sign to create a new layer. Now we're going to go into our brushes and we're going to make sure that airbrushing is selected, soft blend. We want our settings to be at about 17% of brush size and 55% of opacity. So now we are going to pick some darker and brighter colors. So go into the colors panel and we're going to go ahead and choose a darker color. We are going to make a nice gradient. As you go further up, press the brush a little more lightly so that it creates a nice gradient here. Don't worry if you don't do a perfect job. This is something we can fix a little later. Now we are going to click the colors and we're going to pick a brighter color here. And we're going to start at the top. You can actually squeeze in the canvas so you can see more around the edges. We're going to click an even brighter color for the top. You can see there are some splotches here. It's not a perfect gradient, but we can go ahead and fix that. Go into the layers panel, make sure that the gradient layer is selected. Now click this magic wand tool here and click Gaussian blur layer. And we're going to just slide this across until we come up with a gradient that we're happy with. Around 45% is pretty good. Click the magic wand when you're done. So we're done the background. Now we're going to work on creating the moon. So go ahead and click the layers tool and we're going to create a new layer again. We are going to change the color to a perfect white, and you can do that by double clicking in the white section, and that'll create a perfect white. Now we're going to change the brush. We're going to go to calligraphy and make sure that monoline is selected. Now we're going to go ahead and create a perfect circle. Go ahead and draw a circle and hold it down here. It's going to create an ellipses, but if you hold down another finger, it'll create a perfect circle. Now we're going to go ahead and fill that in. Go ahead and drag the color in, and boom, bam, we got a perfect circle. Now let's change the size and positioning of this circle. If you click this cursor tool here, you can move where the circle goes on the picture. And you can change the size. If you select uniform, it'll keep the size of the circle perfectly. I think here is good. Press the cursor tool when you're done. Now let's add a little bit of texture on the moon, because the moon is not just a perfect circle. Come on now. We're going to go into layers and we're going to create a new layer. Let's clip this layer to this circle. So go ahead and click the layer and we're going to click clipping mask. And what this does is making sure that whatever we paint on the circle will stay within the circle. It's a very neat trick. So now let's go into our brush tool and we're going to go into industrial and make sure the rusted decay option is on. Now we're going to go and pick a darker gray color for the moon's craters and such. Now let's see how that looks. Let's spatter it on a bit. Okay, you can create some lighter marks and some heavier marks. Once you're happy with the craters, let's go ahead and blur it a little bit because I think it's a bit too sharp. So click the magic wand tool and we're going to click Gaussian blur layer and we're going to blur it just a little bit so it's just not so sharp. More realistic, I think. And also, if you desire, you can change the opacity by going into layers, clicking that N button, and then just bringing down the opacity a bit. It's your moon, you do what you want with it. So as you know, moons glow. So we're going to add a little glow around the edges here. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this. If you slide to the right here, you can find the duplicate button. We're going to take this layer and we're going to go to the Gaussian blur again under the wand tool. We're going to hit Gaussian blur layer and we're going to drag it out. And you can see that it creates a nice glow here, and you can make it as glowy as you want. I think around here is nice, around 28.5%. Press the wand tool when you're done. Now let's change the positioning of this whole moon because it's a little off center now and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, as you can see. So we're going to go into the layers. We're going to group these 3 moon elements so that they're all together. So if you just slide them all to the right and you hit group, that creates a new group and you can just move this group all together. And I'm going to change the name of this group to moon. And now, if I select the cursor tool, I can move this whole thing to wherever I want. Perfect! Now let's add some stars to our atmosphere. If we click the Layers tool, we're going to click the gradient background because we want to create a layer in between the gradient background and the moon. So when we click the plus sign, a new layer will appear. We're going to go into the brush tools, and under Luminance, you will find the Glimmer tool. Now let's adjust the settings a bit. So if you click the Glimmer tool again, the settings will appear. Make sure your settings look like this, because if they don't, there'll be way too many stars in one place. So try to copy this. Now press done when you're done with the adjustments. And now, making sure that your color is a nice white, we are going to add some stars in the background. Now I like to just click in a few different areas and change the sizing a lot because we want to differ the size of the stars here. And if you don't like the placement of some of these stars, you can always fix that a little later. Just go ahead and add the stars wherever you desire. Now, to fill in some places, we're going to add some individual stars ourselves. So we're going to click the brush tool and we're going to go into light pen. Now we can create little stars here and there. The harder you press, the bigger the star will be. I'm just doing this to fill in the spaces where I feel like it needs it. And if you don't like the placement of a star, you can always undo it by double clicking. Okay, that looks pretty starry to me. Now I'm gonna go ahead and erase some stars that don't bring me joy. You know, just like Maria Kondo, you throw it away. I'm just gonna zoom in a bit and I'm gonna take away some stars that don't really fit for me. Okay, I can live with that. Now, let's add some lovely clouds around our moon. Go into the Layers tool, and we're going to create a layer on top of the moon. We're going to change our brush to clouds, so go ahead and find the Elements option and select Clouds. I'm going to put some big ones here. And maybe a few little baby ones as well. Changing the size will help create variety here. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Now, we're going to do the same thing with the moon craters and we're going to adjust the Gaussian blur. If you hit the magic wand here, we can click the Gaussian blur and we're going to go ahead and make it a little more blurry, a little less sharp, you know, more natural. And we are going to change the opacity as well. Awesome, that looks pretty good here. Now, if you look in the description below, you'll find a lovely brush set download. If you download it and you look in here, you'll find a variety of Halloween brushes. We're gonna go ahead and click which one here, and we're gonna create a witch. We're gonna make it black, and again, you can double click the black to make it the blackest of blacks. And I'm gonna make it above the moon, but behind the clouds here. Looking good. Now let's change the sizing, it's a bit too big here. If we click the cursor tool and we make it a little bit smaller, that looks really good. Now the last thing we're gonna do, and we're almost done, is add a nice little fog above the moon. So we're gonna create a new layer. We're gonna change the color to a white. Again, double click for a nice white. We're gonna go into airbrushing and we're gonna click the soft blend tool. Let's adjust the settings so it's a little bigger here. And we're just gonna go to town. I'm gonna start off by just adding a little bit of fog to this moon here. Go over the witch a little bit to show that she's in the fog. Ah, that's nice. Now let's add a bit of fog at the top here as well. And don't worry if it's not perfect, because we can always adjust it later. Some spots are just peeking out of the fog here. I think it adds a nice little effect. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to adjust the Gaussian blur here. We're going to adjust it a bit so it blends in nicely. Very nice. I find that the fog is a bit too heavy, so we're going to adjust the opacity here so it's a little less intense. Alright, and that is your full moon tutorial, because I know all of you are going to be drawing full moons this Halloween. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the You Want Pizzazz channel. We're putting out spooky tutorials all month, so stay tuned for that. Have a spooky day, everybody!